You're watching the show that puts Mid-Michigan news in focus. This is Focal Point.
Tonight on Focal Point, with the election less than a month away, are students more or less excited to vote compared to 4 years ago?
Plus, homecoming at MSU means floats, parades, and alumni returning to campus.
I'm Sidorowicz. Coming up on Focal Point, it's madness here at the President's Center. We've got all the highlights from this year's Midnight Madness coming up.
Focal Point starts now.
I'm Chloe Hill.
And I'm Edith Joe. Welcome to Focal Point. The election is now 2.5 weeks away. It's crunch time for the candidates.
When Barack Obama ran 4 years ago, he energized the youth vote with unprecedented numbers of young voters going to the polls. Now, though, many of this year's first-time voters don't feel that same energy and aren't as connected to the election.
Focal Point's Lauren Gentili talks to students and experts about voter apathy.
It's time for a cup of joe at Grand River Coffee. Students come in to take a break with friends or even get some studying done. And sometimes talk even turns to politics.
I feel like my vote's not going to make a difference, so it's not that important.
Other students say it's a privilege to vote.
I think it's important because if everybody can contribute their opinion, it will have a better outcome than if just a few do.
Some students are surprised that the candidates are not going after young voters like they did 4 years ago.
I know that a lot of young voters have been disappointed with the way the last 4 years have turned out, so it's kind of reducing turnout, but I'm not sure why at least the Democrats aren't pushing for more people to go out.
Experts say there was 800,000 registered young voters in Michigan in the 2008 presidential election. And this year they're expecting a smaller turnout for young voters behind the voting booth.
You have to be a little bit careful in terms of assuming that they will not participate because there's such a thing that is called a surge voter, and that usually is your younger voter that really only engages in the last couple of weeks before the election. So.
East Lansing City Clerk Marie McKenna says she's seen a lot of young voters, but sometimes students don't become involved in the elections.
I would encourage students to vote in every possible election and to become aware of those and to vote.
McKenna hopes coffee shop talk will help students realize there is still time to get involved with the election. For Focal Point, I'm Lauren Gentili.
And speaking of voter registration, if you live in the dorms at MSU, you may have met some Dorm Storm volunteers trying to get you registered to vote. Dorm Storm is a program put on by Spartans for Obama, where volunteers storm the hallways to dorm complexes to promote voting among students. But volunteers say it doesn't matter what party you're affiliated with, their main goal is to get students ready to vote.
We're making a pretty big impact. I mean, we've registered a lot of voters, and it's just a lot more people that are able to have a say in what government does.
Voter registration ended October 9th.
And even though registration has ended, those students who don't want to change their address or can't get home to vote can vote absentee. It's a process that's simple, but there are some rules.
Thanks, Jared.
Andrew Kreitz remembers what it was like the first time he voted in a general election.
2008, it was really exciting. I turned 18 in August, and then of course the election was in November. And it was my first time voting.
This year, as a senior at Michigan State University, voting is going to be a little different.
I'm not home, I'm not in high school, I'm far away, and voting absentee was the best choice for me.
For many students, driving home on election day isn't an option. So many Michigan State students like Andrew actually requested an absentee ballot be sent to their current address. This way, students can vote from the comfort of their own homes.
When I previously voted in 2008, I did my research. I went online, checked out the proposals, checked out all the candidates who were running, and I kind of went into the polls with a literal cheat sheet. This time around, I think I'll have my ballot with me, I'll be at the computer, and I'll just be reading through each candidate, reading through all the proposals, and voting for whom I think is best.
According to the East Lansing Clerk, absentee voting isn't the only option that students are considering.
Students, of course, can register here. It doesn't matter if you're from out of state. They can register here, and they should cancel their registration in whatever jurisdiction and state from which they originate.
However, there is one thing that they should be aware of.
When you register here, this changes your address. And so what will happen is you'll get a sticker from the Secretary of State that you'll have to put on the back of your driver's license.
This is, one of the most important ways and one of the better ways to make an impact early on.
Residents have until 2 p.m. the Saturday before the election to register for an absentee ballot. You can apply online at www.michigan.gov/vote. MSU students certainly have their opinions about the election, and in tonight's Sidewalk survey, we asked them what makes the candidates stand out.
Strong beliefs and good and strong ideas and what they want to do in a strong plan.
It's when they know exactly what they are talking about, when they have solid numbers and have a distinct plan that they can use to back up their facts and what they say they're going to do.
The issues that they're covering, how they present themselves, both during their debates and kind of off screen too.
Number one, can I believe what they're saying? Do they seem trustworthy to me? And then after that, it would be the economic plan. Is it something that I can understand? Is it something that makes sense? And is it something that's going to work for myself and my family?
A new apartment complex opened this fall in East Lansing, but the opening has been marred by fights with the city and unhappy tenants. Focal Point's Joe Khalil finds out what all the fuss is about.
I pay a lot of money to live here, and I live in a construction site.
Raquel Burchett is one of the tenants in the brand new St. Anne's Luxury Lofts in downtown East Lansing. A project that created a lot of buzz has left a handful of residents feeling disappointed.
There's supposed to be a sky bar that doesn't exist, a gym that doesn't exist, a restaurant that doesn't exist, a coffee shop that doesn't exist.
Raquel says if she's paying top dollar to live in St. Anne's, she should at least be able to have some of her grievances addressed.
We've tried to reach out to them. We don't really get, all you get is it's going to be done in 30 days. And we were promised that it would be done by the time we got here.
I'm standing in what was supposed to be the student lounge, or at least that's what was promised to the residents who live here by the management. But as you can see, there's not much going on at all here. And this doesn't seem to be the only promise that management has broken so far.
They submitted plans to us after the fact, and we took it and had to get it approved by the Planning Commission and City Council after part of the work was already done.
Tim Schmidt, East Lansing's development analyst, says the city had to come down on St. Anne's Building Company after it built a 5th floor without a permit.
It slowed them down to the point where they were like the day before people were moving in, still trying to scramble and get stuff done. It's kind of rare that a builder would just do that on their own.
And it seems like because of a few gaffes by the city and the building company, it's the tenants who are suffering.
DTN is kind of saying that they're not in charge of this construction, so there's nothing they can do about it, but they'll relate to the owner.
DTN also referred me to an owner of the building, and not surprisingly, he couldn't be reached for comment. Raquel says she and some of the others living here are planning on getting together to take collective action.
I think they just pretty much think they have so much control and we're not going to do anything about it.
But Raquel and the other tenants have an uphill battle ahead of them. For Focal Point, I'm Joe Khalil.
We reached out to the management company DTN, who directed us to the building company for our construction issues. We have not gotten any response yet.
Coming up, are you confused about the ballot proposals? Well, we have an MSU expert here to help us figure them all out.
And the nationwide Menitis Outbreak has people wondering how this could happen.
They've been called leaders, lifesavers, and world changers. They're also called Spartans.
I'm Lauren Gentili with this week's On-Campus Report. The Michigan ballot proposals can seem daunting and confusing. Focal Point's Josh Sidorowicz sits down now with an MSU expert to help break down the proposals and give us the information we need to know before heading to the polls. Josh?
All right, thanks, Lauren. And yeah, that's right. We are talking proposals here with MSU Political Science Professor Matt Grossman. Matt, thanks for joining us today.
Good to be with you.
Appreciate you coming out here. And yeah, we mentioned we have 6 proposals, so we're going to run through this real quick, rapid fire style. We'll start right off with Proposal 1, which is the referendum of Public Act 4 of 2011, the Emergency Manager Law. Controversial, it gave a lot of power to unelected officials. What will voters be seeing in the language when they go vote?
Well, voting yes here means that you're voting in approval of the law that was just passed in 2011 that made it easier for the state government to appoint managers to take over decision making for local governments in financial stress. And if you vote no, that would send us back to the previous law, which also had managers, but with less power and less often.
Okay, so people should not be under the assumption then that voting no is going to completely wipe out any possibility of having an emergency manager put in place?
Right, it will just send us back to the way the law was before 2011.
Okay, excellent. Now, jumping right along now, proposals 2 through 6, these are all unique in that they're constitutional amendments, meaning that they'll be harder to overturn depending on the outcome?
Right, so if they're passed, basically only the voters in a subsequent election would be able to overturn them.
Okay. Now with Proposal 2, this is dealing with collective bargaining rights and granting more power to unions. What exactly are voters voting on with this proposal?
Well, they're voting to enshrine collective bargaining rights in the Constitution for both public and private sector workers. So that would deter future laws that are designed to curb unionization, and they would potentially overturn some current laws, especially with regard to public employee compensation.
And in terms of if this law is passed, or this amendment is passed, excuse me, what about, would there be any conflicts with what's currently in the Constitution or what's currently in place?
Well, in the constitutional amendment would override current statutes, which allow the legislature to curb some public employee rights.
Okay, and this also has the potential with, say, Republicans have been pushing to pass, right to work laws and things like that. Would that also interfere?
Right, unless they passed a constitutional amendment, you wouldn't be able to make Michigan a right to work law state.
Okay. Now, collective bargaining in general, though, is that in jeopardy pending the outcome of this amendment?
No, voting no would just keep the current law, and we have unionization in Michigan already.
Okay. Now, jumping on, we'll go to Proposal 3. That's the 25 by 25, dealing with energy here in the state of Michigan. Now, first, we'll kind of get a bit of background. There was legislation in 2008 that was requiring 10% of clean energy by 2015. What does this do then? Is this taking it a step further?
Yeah, so this would accelerate the required transition to mostly solar and wind energy and extend it further into the future.
Okay, and when we say 25 by 25, what does that exactly require?
It means 25% of the energy would have to come from those sources, so you'd have less natural gas and coal and more wind and solar, which would probably mean higher costs for consumers.
Okay, because most of our energy is coming from that natural gas and coal power?
Right, which are the cheaper sources but less clean sources of energy.
Okay, and as far as some of the big energy providers, Consumers Energy, DTE, they've come out that they're really against it? Okay.
Right.
And I believe too that this would be the first state that would have such a thing in their constitution as well. Jumping to Proposal 4, again we're going back to collective bargaining, but this deals specifically with home health care workers. What exactly are we talking here?
Right. So it's essentially enabling unionization for that specific group.
Okay. Proposal 5, this is dealing with taxes. What are voters voting on with this?
It would require a 2/3 vote of the legislature to raise taxes or eliminate deductions.
Okay. And then finally, Proposal 6, we'll wrap this up. This is the bridge. What are we talking about? This isn't really going to affect either way if voters vote on this. They're still getting a bridge.
Well, it's going to be held up in legal cases, but this is an initiative by the owner of the current bridge to slow the construction of the alternative bridge by the governor in Canada.
All right, excellent. Well, Matt, thanks for coming in. We appreciate it, and we'll send it on back to you, Lauren.
Thanks, Josh. Last week, MSU fans and alumni celebrated homecoming, and it wouldn't be homecoming without the traditional parade. This year's theme was Spartans Will Make History, which highlights the history of MSU and those that have contributed to its legacy. Marching bands, floats, and Grand Marshal Mark Hollis helped make this year's parade a success.
I just like parades, so I just like to come and they're fun.
Just keep it going. Bring clubs out. Any clubs, really. Just fill it up, yeah. More people, better, more fun, and loud music.
A record 170 student groups and local organizations participated in the parade, and many volunteered to help build the floats. The float building has become a homecoming tradition at MSU. Each group worked on their own float design using the Spartans Will homecoming theme. Building took place just outside the stadium from 5 to 11 every night in the week, leading up to the parade. Volunteers said finishing the floats was a lot of work, but also a lot of fun.
We're hoping that we get a really good response. We're putting a lot of work into it. It's more bonding, getting to know everybody on board that we work with all year, and we're having a great time.
And it was more than just traffic lights glowing green for homecoming. There were green lights all over. The MSU Student Alumni Foundation launched their Glow Green campaign for the second straight year. The foundation teamed up with Consumers Energy and passed out high-efficiency green bulbs to replace porch lights, lamps, and even street lights on the Sparty statue.
Glow Green is just kind of bringing the community together and Spartans together. And if you swap out your light bulbs, it shows that you support MSU.
The Student Alumni Foundation hopes to make this a yearly tradition and have students glowing green more than just during homecoming week. All this week, students gathered around the Sparty statue each evening to take time in an honored tradition. Sparty Watch takes place every year during Michigan Week, leading up to one of the biggest rivalry games in the Big Ten between MSU and U of M. It's grown from more than just a watch party, though. Every night of the week, there were different activities going on, including a DJ with dancing and music. But for a lot of students who come out to guard the statue, it represents more than just a party.
For me, it represents Spartan pride. I mean, you know, we love Michigan State so much that we will be out here in the freezing cold. Last night it was raining, and there were still a bunch of people out here, you know, just to guard our mascot. I mean, that's great for me.
MSU has gone unbeaten against U of M for the past 4 years heading into this week's game. That's what's happening on campus. I'm Lauren Gentili. Back to the desk.
The total number of cases in the nationwide meningitis outbreak is now well over 200.
Experts are saying that the cause of the outbreak may be more complicated than first imagined. Focal Point's Joe Cleo has the story.
People that had these, quote, contaminated specimens.
Dr. Ron Orwitz is the lab director at Sparrow Hospital. He examines how microorganisms affect the body.
The introduction of this material was by injection, and people that went to pain clinics received this medication, and following that, a certain number came down with meningitis.
Orwitz says meningitis is particularly damaging. It affects the coating of the brain and spinal cords. He says the severity of its symptoms depend on each person's reaction to it.
We would have to find out what the common issues were in the people that did die, find out what the common issues were in the people who just got sick.
The injection fluid that caused the outbreak came from one specific compounding center in New England. It was supposed to be a commonly used steroid for pain, but the fluid shipped out was contaminated with fungal meningitis. Now the FDA is cracking down on the compounding center, but Dr. Orwitz says they may not be entirely to blame.
What you have to do is look at the different parts of it. You would have to show, were these bottles received in a sterile fashion, or were they in fact contaminated before they got to the factory?
Steve Jakubik, a pre-pharmacy major, says people have the right to be nervous.
They might lose their faith in the medicine that they have, and that something such as common as this steroid that people use, how could it not happen in other things that people are using?
Jakubik says that's what makes this outbreak so alarming.
So many people have access to it, and you never know who might or might not get infected by this, so it is scary.
With now over 230 cases nationwide, the public can only hope that the rate at which the fungal meningitis is spreading slows down soon. For Focal Point, I'm Joe Khalil.
That contaminated steroid did reach a few clinics here in Michigan, leading to 3 deaths in the state so far. Up next in sports, the MSU football team hopes to rebound after last week's loss to Iowa.
And both the MSU hockey team and the basketball team meet with the media for the first time this year.
The day we created a cancer drug that saved millions of lives began like any other day. And when we developed a new way to purify the world's water supplies, it might have been a Tuesday or possibly a Thursday. And whether it's alternative energy or better food safety, the next time we help create a solution to one of the world's great problems, we'll be proud. Then we'll get back to work. Michigan State University. Spartans will.
When I was green, greener than the hill, where flowers grew and the sun shone still.
I'm Josh Sidorowicz with this week's sports. The MSU football team suffering their second Big Ten loss of the season to Iowa last week. Le'Veon Bell rushed for 140 yards in the game when the Spartans seemed to dominate until the fourth quarter, when Iowa came on strong, eventually tying the game at 13-all, sending it into overtime. The teams traded field goals in overtime, which sent it into double overtime, with Iowa kicking another field goal. The Spartans had a chance to win with a touchdown, but quarterback Andrew Maxwell threw an interception that ended the game, giving them their second Big Ten loss of the season. And from football now, we move to basketball. Coach Tom Izzo and his team held their annual media day last week, giving us a preview of the upcoming season. And Izzo says he's pretty optimistic about the team and eager to start playing for real.
As good as I felt in 10 years. I think we have a lot of things going for us, maybe some more than I thought. I think we're coming off an incredible year where you kind of revives you in itself.
It means a lot because it just shows the respect, that I get on this team and the respect that I get from the program, and it's an honor because I've been here 4 years, so it's my time to show, how I can lead and what I can do to make this team go far.
And the Spartan basketball season officially kicked off last Friday with Midnight Madness here at the Breslin, and fans packed the arena to get a glimpse of this year's team, Izzo, and all of the green and white excitement. We may be in the midst of football season, but for one night at least, it was all about Spartan basketball. And fans, students, and alumni poured into the Breslin to see what surprises were in store for this year's Midnight Madness.
I'm back here all the time, but this is the first time I've ever been to Midnight Madness, so it was pretty exciting.
From the band to the cheerleaders, and of course, there was Sparty. There was no denying the energy and excitement building up to the team and Coach Tom Izzo's big entrance. And boy, what an entrance it was.
It was awesome. It was phenomenal. All the lights and the fireworks, it was something else.
This year's theme was all about superheroes, and Izzo was on a mission to save Sparty from the arch nemesis to the south in Ann Arbor.
It's been 3 years since we've been back to a Final Four, and I think it's time to start moving forward here.
And afterwards, fans who stuck around got a look at this year's team in action on the court.
I love seeing the Spartan men. I love seeing my green and white. I love state. I bleed green. It's homecoming. Let's go state.
And the night definitely belonged to green and white. The Spartans will officially open the season on November 9th against Connecticut at the Ramstein Air Base in Germany. And with the end of football season in sight, the Student Alumni Foundation hosted the annual Izzone Campout. The Izzone Campout is a 24-hour event for members of the basketball students section to receive priority seating. The SAF teamed up with Coach Izzo and his players to entertain the campers. Students got a chance to play soccer, cornhole, football, and even grill during the night.
I'm looking forward to getting to see Coach Izzo and the team and seeing what they have to say.
Yeah, just here to support the team, meet the players, have some fun. It's the number one reason.
We got a great team coming out here right now, and we're looking to win a national championship. So,
yep. And hopefully the basketball team too.
I really like the aspect of everyone coming out and having a good time with the team.
And from basketball to hockey, the MSU men's hockey team also talking to the media last week. The players gathered for their annual team photos, mugging for the camera, and eager to get the season started. Coach Tom Anastas knows he has a young team, but he likes what he sees so far.
We're excited about that, knowing that with youth comes youthful enthusiasm and probably also, inexperienced mistakes, and we're just going to have to work through that over a period of time. I'm anticipating that the league will probably be as competitive as it's ever been in its history, which is kind of ironic when you consider it's the last year of the league.
I feel extremely comfortable playing with any of these guys. We've mixed up lines so far in practice, and we have seniors playing with freshmen.
I think we got a lot of potential in these young kids. I never got to see them before this, but seeing them in practice, I've been really impressed with how they're handling themselves and how they're keeping up in the play.
All right, and here's to hoping for a great season here coming up. That's what's happening in sports. I'm Josh Sidorowicz. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Josh.
Well, MSU's new food truck, Eat at State on the Go, providing Spartans the newest convenient dining option.
The track is located north of Shahal near the Sidorowicz River and open from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. daily during the fall semester, while the Shell Dining Hall is under construction. It serves items such as chicken sandwiches, wraps, and cheeseburgers sourced from local and MSU farms. The truck is also open on football game days and accepts credit card, cash, Spartan cash, and meal plans.
We have a lot of students coming here. It's pretty successful. It comes and goes. After class, students like to come by and get some food, do their combo exchange, which is very common here.
Beginning in spring semester 2013, the food truck will be moving to a different campus location. That's all for our show tonight. We leave you now with sounds from Acapalooza.
And have a good night.
You don't know how lucky you are, standing with that girl on your arm. But soon enough, I'm taking my shot. Hey, once I get them locked in my side, doesn't mean I wasn't alright. Sometimes the grass is green.